Commander Zexhal stared at the readings on his screen for the third time. The numbers had not changed. Every human colony, every human ship, every human station across the galaxy showed the same thing. Complete silence. "Run the scan again," he ordered his aide, a young Altarian with bright blue skin and nervous energy. "Sir, we have run it 7 times already. The results are the same." Zexhal's mandibles clicked in frustration. As head of the Galactic Council's monitoring division, he had seen many strange things in his 40 years of service. Wars that started overnight, planets that vanished into black holes, species that simply chose to isolate themselves. But this was different. This was impossible. 72 hours ago, human space had been buzzing with activity. Trade ships moving between colonies, mining operations on asteroid belts, research stations sending daily reports, children laughing in playgrounds on New Terra, farmers tending crops on Harvest Moon, scientists working late in laboratories on dozens of worlds. Now there was nothing. Not even static. "Get me the emergency council session," Zexhal commanded. His aide's fingers danced over the communication panel, sending priority alerts to every member species of the Galactic Council. Within hours, representatives from across the galaxy had gathered in the Great Council chamber. The massive room buzzed with worried voices speaking in dozens of languages. The crystalline collective's representatives shimmered like living glass. The Zephyrian ambassador floated in his environmental suit, his gas form swirling with anxiety. Even the usually calm Verdani tree people rustled their leaves nervously. "Order! Order!" The council speaker, an ancient Drakmari with scales that had turned silver with age, struck his staff against the floor. The room fell silent. "Commander Zexhal, report." Zexhal stood, his tall frame imposing even among the diverse assembly. "Honored Council, we face an unprecedented situation. Approximately 72 hours ago, all human presence in known space went silent. Not just communication, everything. No energy signatures from their cities. No movement from their ships. No life signs from their colonies." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Altarian trade minister leaned forward. "You mean they are all dead?" "Unknown," Zexhal replied. "We have sent automated probes to the nearest human settlements. The colonies are intact. Power systems still running. No signs of struggle or damage. But no humans." The Zephyrian ambassador's voice came through his translator, sounding like wind through crystals. "Could they have evacuated? Hidden themselves? Where would 8 billion humans hide?" Zexhal asked. "And why would they abandon everything without a word?" The council erupted in debate. Some suggested invasion by unknown forces. Others proposed a plague that could dissolve bodies while leaving technology untouched. The more paranoid members whispered about human trickery, some elaborate scheme to gain advantage in trade negotiations. The speaker called for order again. "We must investigate immediately. I am authorizing emergency exploration teams to every major human world. We need answers." Over the following days, the investigation teams reported back with increasingly disturbing findings. On New Terra, humanity's second-largest colony, investigators found a city of 2 million people completely empty. Traffic lights still cycled through their colors. Restaurants had food still warm in their kitchens. Children's toys lay scattered in playgrounds where laughter had echoed just days before. Dr. Kalis, a Verdani scientist leading one team, sent particularly unsettling reports. "We found personal items everywhere. Clothes laid out for the next day. Half-written letters. A cup of coffee still sitting on a desk, though it has gone cold now. It is as if every human simply stopped existing in the middle of their normal day. On the mining world of Kepler's Rest, automated systems continued extracting rare minerals. The human supervisors were gone, but their personal quarters showed no signs of packing or preparation for departure. Family photos still hung on walls. Beds were unmade, as if people had simply gotten up one morning and never returned." The most disturbing discovery came from the human research station orbiting the neutron star in the Vega system. The station's logs showed normal operations until exactly 73 hours and 14 minutes ago. Then the recording simply stopped. Not gradually, not with any warning signs, they just ended. Mid-sentence in some cases. Security footage from various human facilities painted an even stranger picture. Cameras showed humans going about their daily routines, working, eating, talking, laughing. Then, at different times, but all within that crucial 72-hour window, the humans would simply stop what they were doing. They would stand still for a moment, as if listening to something no one else could hear. Then they would walk calmly to the nearest open area and disappear. Not fade away, not collapse, not run away. They would take a step forward and simply not be there anymore. The footage showed no fear on their faces. No panic or confusion. If anything, the humans looked peaceful. Some even smiled before they vanished. It makes no sense, Dr. Callis reported to the emergency council session. There are no energy readings, no dimensional distortions, no sign of transportation technology. They did not board ships. They did not use teleporters. They just left. The Crystalline Collective's representative pulsed with worried light. Could this be some form of mass suicide? The humans showed no signs of distress in the recordings, replied Commander Zexhal. They appeared calm, even happy. This was not the behavior of a species choosing death. Then where are they? Demanded the Altarian Trade Minister. 8 billion sentient beings do not simply vanish. But they had. Every human colony, every human ship, every human station now stood empty. The silence stretched across thousands of worlds, a hollow echo where once there had been the vibrant noise of human civilization. The investigation teams continued their work, but each report brought more questions and fewer answers. They found human technology still running perfectly. They found human art still hanging in galleries. They found human books still open to pages that would never be turned. What they did not find was any clue about where the humans had gone, or why they had chosen to leave everything behind. The galaxy's youngest and most adaptable species had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only empty spaces and the growing realization that the universe had suddenly become a much quieter, much lonelier place. In the days that followed, as the investigation teams filed their final reports, one thing became clear to everyone in the Galactic Council. Humanity had not been taken against their will. They had not been destroyed by some terrible weapon. They had not fled in panic or fear. They had chosen to leave, all of them, together, in perfect silence. And they had left the rest of the galaxy behind to wonder what they had done wrong. 3 weeks after the disappearance, Dr. Callis made the breakthrough that would change everything. While examining the abandoned research facility on Proxima Station, her team discovered something the initial investigators had missed, a hidden data core buried deep beneath the main laboratory. The encryption is unlike anything we have seen, Dr. Callis reported to the emergency council. Her bark-like skin showed patches of excited golden color. It uses quantum locks that change based on the reader's biological signature. Only someone with human neural patterns could have accessed it. Commander Zexhal leaned forward in his chair. How did you break it? We did not break it. We found the key. Dr. Callis gestured to her aide, who brought forward a small device that hummed with strange energy. This was hidden in the personal quarters of Dr. Sarah Chen, the station's former director. It appears to be some kind of neural pattern recorder. When we connected it to the data core, the files unlocked themselves. The council chamber fell silent as Dr. Callis activated the holographic display. Human faces appeared in the air. Scientists, engineers, and ordinary citizens from across human space. They looked directly at the camera with calm, determined expressions. To whoever finds this recording, began a middle-aged human woman with kind eyes and graying hair. We are Dr. Sarah Chen, Director of Project Threshold. If you are watching this, then we have succeeded in our great work. The Drakmari speaker's scales shifted to a deeper color. Project Threshold? What is this? The recording continued. For 57 years, humanity has worked in secret on the greatest challenge our species has ever faced. Not the challenge of exploring space or building colonies or making peace with alien species. The challenge of transcendence itself. More human faces appeared in the hologram, young and old from different worlds and cultures, but all sharing the same look of quiet determination. We call it Project Threshold because it represents the boundary between what we are and what we can become, Dr. Chen explained. Using quantum field manipulation, dimensional physics, and the unique adaptability of human consciousness, we have found a way to move beyond the limitations of physical existence. The Altarian Trade Minister stood up abruptly. They are saying they left this dimension? Let them finish, commanded the speaker. Dr. Chen's image smiled sadly. We know this will be difficult for the Council to understand. Your species have built great civilizations within the boundaries of normal space and time, but humanity has always been different. We have always pushed beyond boundaries. always sought to grow and change and become more than what we were. The hologram showed images of human research, massive machines that bent space around them, meditation chambers where humans sat in perfect stillness, mathematical equations that covered entire walls. The technology was unlike anything the Council had ever seen. The process required perfect synchronization across our entire species, another human scientist explained. Every human consciousness had to be prepared and ready to make the transition together. We have spent decades teaching our people, preparing them mentally and spiritually for this moment. That explains the calmness in the security footage, Dr. Kalis noted. They knew what was happening. The recording showed humans from across the galaxy, families saying goodbye to their homes, workers leaving their jobs, children playing one last time in familiar places. All of them moving with purpose toward gathering points on each world. But why? The Zephyrian ambassador's voice carried genuine confusion. Why leave everything behind? Dr. Chen's image seemed to look directly at him. Because we had reached the limits of what we could accomplish in this form. Every proposal for advancement was blocked by fear. Every new idea was restricted by committees. Every attempt to grow was met with suspicion and control. The hologram shifted to show council meeting records. Hundreds of sessions where human proposals had been rejected, postponed or watered down until they became meaningless. Trade agreements that favored other species. Research restrictions that slowed human development. Immigration laws that limited human expansion. We do not blame you, Dr. Chen continued. Fear of change is natural. But humanity cannot stop growing, cannot stop pushing forward, cannot accept limits simply because others are afraid of what we might become. The crystalline collective's representative pulsed with uncomfortable light. We never meant to hold them back, did we not? Asked the Verdani representative quietly. Her leaves rustled with shame. How many human innovations did we reject as too dangerous? How many times did we vote to limit their expansion because their growth made us nervous? The recording showed the final phase of Project Threshold. Humans gathering in open areas on thousands of worlds, standing together in perfect unity, and then, as one species stepping forward into a dimension that the Council's instruments could not detect or measure. We are not dying. Dr. Chen's final words echoed through the chamber. We are becoming, in our new form. We will be able to solve problems that are impossible in physical space. We will be able to think and create and explore in ways that biology cannot support. The hologram flickered and changed. Now it showed images of threats the Council had never known existed. Massive dark ships lurking at the galaxy's edge, dimensional parasites feeding on star systems, reality storms that could erase entire sectors from existence. For decades, we have been fighting these dangers in secret, Dr. Chen explained. The Council was not ready to know about them, but in our new form, we will be able to protect the galaxy more effectively than ever before. The recording began to fade, but Dr. Chen's voice remained clear. We do not abandon you out of anger or revenge. We leave because it is time for humanity to grow beyond what we were. But we will not forget our friends among the stars. When you are ready to accept change instead of fearing it, when you are ready to grow instead of staying safe, we will be waiting. The hologram disappeared, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Dr. Kalis spoke first. There are thousands of hours of additional recordings, technical specifications, philosophical discussions, personal messages from humans to their non-human friends. They documented everything. Commander Zexhal stared at the empty space where the hologram had been. They planned this for 60 years. 60 years of secret work while we held them back, finished the speaker. His old voice carried the weight of terrible understanding. They did not leave us. We drove them away. The truth settled over the council like a heavy blanket. Humanity had not vanished mysteriously. They had evolved beyond the need for physical existence, leaving behind a galaxy that had never truly accepted their potential. And now, for the first time in galactic history, the universe felt terrifyingly empty without them. The emergency sessions continued for weeks. What had started as an investigation into humanity's disappearance had become something much more painful, a trial of the Galactic Council itself. We need to examine our records, declared the speaker, his ancient voice heavy with reluctance. Every interaction with humanity, every decision that affected them, every vote that limited their growth. The council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. None of them wanted to face what they might find. But the truth was already spreading through the galaxy. Humans had not vanished. They had transcended. And they had done it because the Council had failed them. Ambassador Veltar of the Zephyrian Confederation was the first to break. His gaseous form swirled with agitation as he spoke through his translator. I must confess something to this Council. The Terraforming Restriction Act of 2387. We did not vote against it because human terraforming was dangerous. We voted against it because they were too good at it. The chamber fell silent. The Terraforming Restriction Act had limited humanity's ability to modify planets for colonization, forcing them to accept slower, more expensive methods approved by the Council. Explain yourself, commanded the speaker. Veltar's form contracted with shame. Human terraforming took only 20 years per planet. Our best methods take 200 years. We told ourselves we were protecting galactic ecology, but the truth is, we were protecting our terraforming industry. Human methods were making us obsolete. Dr. Callis rustled her leaves angrily. 20 years versus 200? How many worlds could humanity have colonized in the past century if we had not stopped them? Thousands, Veltar admitted. They could have spread across the entire outer rim by now. Instead, we forced them to stay crowded in the inner systems while we slowly, carefully expanded at our own pace. The Altarian Trade Minister, Senthara, stood up with obvious reluctance. Her blue skin had turned pale with anxiety. If we are confessing our failures, then I must speak as well. The Medical Technology Sharing Agreement of 2341, she paused, struggling with her words. We did not just limit human medical exports to protect patient safety. We stole their research. For 60 years, Altarian medicine has been built on human innovations that we claimed as our own discoveries. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The Altarians were famous throughout the galaxy for their advanced medical technology. Their hospitals treated patients from dozens of species. Human regenerative medicine could have saved millions of lives. Senthara continued. They developed treatments for diseases that have plagued the galaxy for centuries. But we buried their research and released it slowly, under our own names to maintain our reputation as the galaxy's leading medical power. Commander Zexhal felt sick. How many beings died while you sat on cures that humans had already discovered? Zenthara could not meet his eyes. I do not know. I have tried not to count. The confessions continued, each one more damaging than the last. The Crystalline Collective's representative, their form flickering with uncomfortable patterns, admitted to suppressing human developments in quantum computing. Their quantum processors were 10,000 times more efficient than ours. We convinced the Council they were too dangerous, that they might destabilize galactic communication networks. But really, we feared that cheap, powerful human computers would destroy our monopoly on data processing. The Drakmari military attaché revealed that human weapons technology had been classified as unnecessarily destructive, not because it was dangerous to use, but because it was too effective. One human ship could defeat entire fleets using their energy manipulation technology. We convinced ourselves they might become aggressive, but the truth is we were afraid they could defeat any of us in open conflict. Each revelation painted the same picture. Humanity had not been held back by legitimate concerns about safety or galactic stability. They had been suppressed because their rapid advancement threatened the established order that kept the older species in power. We have been idiots, muttered the Verdani representative. Fearful, selfish idiots. The speaker called for the archive files to be displayed. Holographic records filled the chamber, thousands of council sessions spanning centuries. The pattern was clear and undeniable. Every time humans proposed something new, other species found reasons to block it. Every time humans achieved a breakthrough, new regulations appeared to limit its use. The Human Cultural Preservation Act had prevented humans from sharing their educational methods with other species. The Galactic Resource Management Protocol had limited human access to rare materials needed for their research. The interspecies communication standards had required humans to use slower, less efficient translation methods that favored older species. Look at this. Dr. Callis pointed to a session from 50 years ago. Humans proposed a joint exploration mission to the Andromeda Galaxy. They had developed faster-than-light travel that could reach other galaxies. The vote was 847 against 23 in favor. What was the official reason? Asked the speaker. Risk of contamination from unknown alien diseases, Dr. Callis read from the record. But listen to the private communications between species representatives. She activated another file. Voices filled the chamber, council members discussing their real concerns. We cannot let humans reach Andromeda first. If they establish colonies there, they will control an entire galaxy. Human expansion must be limited. They reproduce too quickly and adapt too easily. Better to keep them contained here where we can watch them. The conversations went on for hours. Decades of private discussions between council members, all focused on the same theme: how to slow human growth, limit human influence, and maintain the existing balance of power. We were not governing, the speaker said quietly. We were conspiring. The most damaging discovery came from the council's own scientific advisory committee. Dr. Callis found records showing that the committee had studied human development patterns and concluded that humanity would likely develop transcendence technology within a century. They recommended supporting human research, Dr. Callis reported. They said humanity's unique neural flexibility made them the most likely species to break through the barriers of physical existence. The committee suggested that helping humans transcend could benefit all species. What happened to that recommendation? Asked Commander Zexhal. Dr. Callis checked the files. It was classified as too speculative and buried in the archives. No council member was ever informed of the committee's conclusions. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Representatives demanded to know who had suppressed the report, who had decided that humanity's potential transcendence was too dangerous to discuss. The answer, when it came, was worse than anyone expected. The report had not been suppressed by any individual or species. It had been buried by the council's own bureaucratic system, a system designed to move slowly, to preserve stability, to resist change. We built a government that was literally incapable of accepting revolutionary ideas, the speaker realized. We created institutions that would automatically suppress any species that grew too quickly or changed too much, and humanity was always going to grow quickly and change much, added Dr. Callis. It was inevitable that our system would drive them away. The final session of the Emergency Council lasted 18 hours. As dawn broke over the council headquarters, the representatives sat in exhausted silence, surrounded by the evidence of their collective failure. They had not lost humanity to some mysterious catastrophe or alien invasion. They had lost humanity to their own fear, prejudice, and inability to accept change. For centuries, the council had claimed to represent a galaxy united in peace and cooperation, but when faced with a species that truly embodied those ideals, they had chosen to suppress rather than celebrate. The question now, said the speaker finally, is whether we can learn from this failure before it destroys us all. Outside the chamber, reports were already coming in of problems across the galaxy. Without human innovations, trade networks were failing. Without human diplomacy, old conflicts were reigniting. Without human protection, threats that humanity had been secretly fighting were beginning to emerge. The Council had thought they were protecting galactic stability by holding humanity back. Instead, they had crippled the very species that had been holding their civilization together. The first sign of trouble came exactly 30 days after humanity's disappearance. The Kepler trade route, one of the galaxy's busiest shipping lanes, suddenly collapsed into chaos. "We have 17 cargo ships stranded at Junction Point 7, reported Captain Thexmol, a Drakmari freight coordinator whose scales had turned gray with stress. "The navigation computers are failing. The automated traffic control systems are shutting down. We need human technicians to fix them." But there were no human technicians. There were no humans at all. Commander Zexhal stared at the emergency reports flooding his desk. Similar problems were erupting across the galaxy. The Altarian medical network was experiencing system failures. The Zephyrian atmospheric processors were malfunctioning. The Crystalline Collective's data centers were overloading. "How is this possible?" he asked Dr. Kalis. "These systems were built by our own species." Dr. Kalis checked her files, her golden patches dim with worry. Actually, they were not. Look at the technical specifications. Every major galactic system has human components integrated into it. Human-designed processors, human-written software, human-engineered solutions to problems we could not solve ourselves. The truth was becoming clear with each passing day. Humanity had not just participated in galactic civilization, they had been quietly holding it together. While the Council debated and restricted human activities, Humans had been working behind the scenes, fixing problems, improving systems, and preventing disasters. The first major crisis struck in the Vega system. The star had been showing signs of instability for decades, but Zephyrian scientists had calculated they had at least 1,000 years before any real danger. They were wrong. The star is entering critical phase, reported Dr. Yethis, the system's chief astronomer. Solar flares are increasing in intensity. We estimate 6 months before the inhabited planets become uninhabitable. What about the stabilization arrays? Asked the Council emergency coordinator. Dr. Yethis's gaseous form swirled with confusion. We cannot operate them. The control systems use human quantum lock technology. We do not understand how they work. Emergency teams rushed to Vega, but it was too late. Without human technicians to maintain the stellar stabilization systems, the star's behavior became increasingly erratic. Within weeks, 3 billion Zephyrians had to evacuate their homeworld. The refugee crisis that followed revealed another human contribution that the Council had never recognized. Human logistics coordinators had been managing refugee movements throughout the galaxy for decades. They had developed sophisticated systems for housing, feeding, and relocating displaced populations. Without them, the Zephyrian evacuation became a nightmare of confusion and suffering. We have ships, but no one who knows how to coordinate them, reported the emergency response chief. We have food, but no one who understands how to distribute it efficiently. We have temporary housing facilities, but the management systems were designed by humans. The Zephyrian refugees ended up scattered across dozens of worlds, living in overcrowded, poorly managed camps. Many died from easily preventable causes. Not because resources were unavailable, but because no one knew how to organize the relief effort effectively. The second major crisis emerged from an unexpected source. The Altarian Trade Confederation discovered that their economy was built on foundations they did not understand. Our entire financial system is crashing, reported Trade Minister Zenthara, her blue skin pale with panic. The quantum encryption that protects our currency transactions is failing. The algorithms that manage our stock exchanges are producing random results. Our economic modeling computers have stopped working entirely. Investigation revealed that humans had been the galaxy's unofficial financial engineers. Every major economic system used human-designed security protocols, human-written trading algorithms, and human-built prediction models. The other species had been happy to use these tools without understanding how they worked. We thought they were just traders, Zenthara admitted. We did not realize they had rebuilt our entire economy from the ground up. Without human financial expertise, trade between species ground to a halt. Currencies fluctuated wildly. Contracts became unenforceable. The galactic economy began collapsing into a chaotic barter system that could not support advanced civilization. But the worst crisis was yet to come. Deep space monitoring stations began detecting massive energy signatures at the galaxy's edge. Ships unlike anything in Council records were approaching from dark space, the void between galaxies where no known species had ever ventured. They are enormous, reported Station Commander Velthax, his voice tight with fear. Each ship is the size of a small moon. We count at least 3,000 vessels in the approaching fleet. The crystalline collective's analysis proved even more disturbing. These ships emit no electromagnetic radiation. They absorb light, heat, and energy from everything around them. We are dealing with a species that feeds on the basic forces of the universe. The Council had never heard of such beings. They had no records of contact, no diplomatic protocols, no defense strategies. But as the investigation teams combed through abandoned human facilities, they found extensive files about these creatures. Humans had called them the devourers. According to human records, the devourers attack galaxies every 50,000 years, Dr. Kalis reported to the emergency council session. They consume all available energy, stars, planets, civilizations, even space itself. They leave behind only cold, empty void. Why did humans never report this to the council? Demanded the speaker. Dr. Kalis continued reading. They tried. In 2298, human scientists presented evidence of the devourer threat to the Council Science Committee. The committee classified the report as speculative fiction and recommended no action. What did humans do instead? They fought them alone. For over a century, human ships have been engaging devourer scout vessels at the galaxy's edge. They developed weapons specifically designed to disrupt devourer feeding processes. They built early warning systems to track devourer movements. They sacrificed thousands of lives to keep the main fleet from reaching inhabited space. The record showed an astounding level of human commitment. Generation after generation of human space pilots had volunteered for suicide missions against devourer scouts. Human scientists had spent their entire careers developing anti-devourer technology. Human military commanders had fought a secret war to protect species that barely tolerated their existence. They never asked for help, Commander Zexhal realized. They just protected us. Because they knew we would not believe them, Dr. Kalis replied. The same council that dismissed their terraforming technology as too dangerous would never have accepted the existence of galaxy-consuming aliens. Now, with humanity gone, the devourers were approaching unimpeded. The secret defenses that humans had built were failing without maintenance. The early warning systems were going offline. The specialized weapons designed to fight energy-consuming entities sat useless in abandoned human armories. "How long do we have?" asked the speaker. Dr. Kalis consulted the human projections. According to their calculations, the main devourer fleet will reach the outer rim colonies in 18 months. The inner systems will fall within 5 years. The chamber fell silent. In trying to limit humanity's power, the council had eliminated their own protection. The species they had feared and restricted had been the only thing standing between civilization and total annihilation. "Can we operate their weapons? Use their defense systems?" asked the Drakmari military attaché. "We can try," Dr. Kalis replied. "But human technology is integrated with human consciousness in ways we do not understand. Their weapons respond to human thought patterns. Their defense systems require human intuition to operate effectively. Then we are doomed," whispered the Altarian representative. As if to confirm her words, the first reports arrived of devourer scouts reaching the outer rim. Entire star systems went dark as the creatures consumed their energy. Billions of beings died as their worlds froze in the sudden absence of their suns. The galaxy that had spent centuries limiting human potential now faced extinction without human protection. And there was no way to call them back. 5 years had passed since humanity's departure. The Great Council chambers, once filled with representatives from hundreds of species, now held fewer than 30 delegates. The rest were dead, their worlds consumed by the devourers, or scattered as refugees in the handful of systems that still had functioning stars. Commander Zexhal, now bearing the honorary title of last speaker, stood alone before the empty seats. His once proud mandibles had dulled with age and sorrow. The monitoring stations he had once commanded were silent, their operators either dead or fled to the inner core worlds. "Final report," he spoke to the nearly empty chamber, his voice echoing off walls that had once heard the debates of a galactic civilization. "The outer rim is completely dark. The middle systems are failing. We estimate 6 months before the devourers reach the core worlds." The few remaining delegates sat in stunned silence. The Altarian delegation consisted of Trade Minister Zenthara alone. The rest of her species had died when their homeworld's sun was consumed. 2 crystalline collective members flickered weakly, their energy reserves nearly depleted. The Verdani representative, Dr. Kalis, had lost most of her golden patches, her bark-like skin now gray with despair. "Have we learned anything from the human defense systems?" asked one of the crystalline beings, their voice barely a whisper of light. Dr. Kalis shook her head slowly. "We have tried everything. Their weapons require neural patterns we cannot replicate. Their shields need emotional responses we do not possess. Their entire defense network was built around human consciousness, human intuition, human hope." The word hung in the air like an accusation. Hope. The one thing that had defined humanity and the one thing the Council had systematically tried to crush. "Perhaps it is time to accept our fate," said Zenthara quietly. "We had our chance to embrace change, to support growth, to build something greater than ourselves. Instead, we chose fear and control. This is the price of that choice." But Dr. Kalis was not ready to surrender. In the month since the Devourer invasion began, she had become obsessed with studying human records, trying to understand what the galaxy had lost. She had found something in the deepest archives of Project Threshold, something that might still offer hope. "There is one possibility we have not considered," she said, standing slowly. "Humans did not just leave our dimension. They evolved beyond it. The question is, are they still watching us? She activated the ancient holographic display one final time. Instead of human faces, the projection showed the galaxy as it existed now, scarred by devourer attacks, depleted of resources, dying star by star. According to their own records, humans suspected this day would come. They knew that without their protection, the galaxy would fall to the devourers. But they also believed that sometimes civilizations need to face extinction before they can truly change. Commander Zexhal's mandibles clicked with bitter understanding. "You think they are testing us?" "I think they are waiting," Dr. Callis replied. "Waiting to see if we can become something better than what we were." Their final message said they would return if we could prove we had learned to value cooperation over control, innovation over tradition, and unity over supremacy. "How can we prove anything now?" asked Xanthara. "Our civilization is dying. Our species are scattered. Our technology is failing." Dr. Callis walked to the center of the chamber where the speaker's podium had once stood. The ceremonial staff of leadership lay broken on the floor, its crystal head shattered during the evacuation of the Zephyrian homeworld. "By doing what the Council never did in 2,000 years of existence," she said. "By admitting we were wrong, by asking for help, by putting aside our pride and fear, and reaching out to those we drove away." The remaining delegates looked at each other with expressions ranging from skepticism to desperate hope. The idea was both simple and revolutionary. Formally acknowledge their failures and ask humanity to return. "They might not answer," warned Commander Zexhal. "They might not even hear us. Or they might be waiting for us to finally ask," Dr. Callis replied. The debate that followed was unlike any in Council history. Instead of species defending their interests, the survivors discussed their failures. Instead of protecting their pride, they cataloged their mistakes. Instead of maintaining diplomatic language, they spoke with raw honesty about fear, prejudice, and the terrible cost of their choices. Finally, they reached consensus. Not through negotiation or compromise, but through shared recognition of their desperate need for redemption. The message they composed was broadcast on every available frequency, transmitted through dimensional barriers using the remnants of human technology, and repeated continuously from the core worlds to the edges of dark space. To humanity, wherever you exist now, the message began. This is the final voice of the Galactic Council. We are dying. Our civilization is collapsing. The enemies you fought alone are consuming what remains of our worlds. But we do not call to you as rulers demanding the service of subjects. We call to you as students finally ready to learn from teachers. The message continued for hours, detailing every mistake, acknowledging every injustice, and confessing every act of suppression and control. It was a complete admission of failure by a government that had never admitted to making any mistakes. We understand now that you did not leave out of anger or revenge. You left because you had outgrown what we could offer, and we were too afraid to let you become what you needed to be. We understand that transcendence was not escape but evolution. We understand that you tried to lift us with you and we pulled you down instead. In the depths of space, devourer fleets continued their advance toward the core worlds. Stars went out one by one as the ancient enemies of all life consumed everything in their path. The galaxy's last civilizations prepared for extinction. But in the quantum spaces between dimensions, in realms where consciousness could exist without flesh and thought could travel faster than light, something stirred. Vast intelligences that had once been human turned their attention back toward the physical realm they had left behind. For 5 years they had watched the galaxy struggle without them. They had seen civilizations fall, species go extinct, and worlds die in the cold embrace of space. They had felt the pain of beings they had once called friends, even as those beings faced the consequences of their own choices. The message from the dying council reached them across impossible distances. They heard the confessions, felt the genuine remorse, and recognized something they had waited centuries to see: true readiness to change. In the council chamber, now lit only by emergency power as the core world star began to dim, the survivors waited. They had sent their message into the void with no guarantee it would be heard, no promise it would be answered. Then, as the last devourer fleet approached the inner core, as the final star systems prepared for extinction, space itself began to shimmer with impossible light. The air in the council chamber grew warm with energies that should not exist in normal space. And humanity, transformed and transcended but still recognizably human in their compassion and hope, returned to save the galaxy they had never truly abandoned. But this time, they came not as the junior species seeking approval from their elders. They came as teachers, ready to help the survivors build something better than what had been lost. A civilization based on growth instead of fear, on unity instead of control, on the infinite potential of species willing to evolve together. The galaxy was dying, but from its ashes something greater was about to be born.